Hey, everybody. Here we go again. This one is on Never Split the Difference with Chris Voss. Chris started out as a police officer in Kansas City and quickly learned that he wanted to get into the negotiation side of that business. And he then joined the FBI and quickly became one of the leaders in that organization for hostage negotiation, and then moved up through that and became one of the world's most prolific hostage negotiators for the FBI. So he would be all over the world um, negotiating kidnappings, bank robberies, and all kinds of things. But what this book was really cool for me, being in the real estate world, is the applications that he does in these high stakes negotiations with some of the craziest criminals you can think of, is that they're applicable to real world scenarios, meaning things like buying a car, negotiating your rent, whether it's your commercial rent or your home rent. It could be negotiating with your partner or kids' bedtimes. But what's really interesting here is that you can learn a lot from just the processes that he has in this book of Never Split the Difference, in how to apply it in your everyday life. And again, for me, it was wildly helpful, learning different tactics and techniques that I can apply in my real estate negotiating, through obviously negotiating with clients and trying to figure out what's best for them, or negotiating with my counterparts, trying to make sure that my client has a win there. So it's interesting when he talks about never split the difference. This is not your typical, hey, I want to, I'm listing this place at 500,000 and you're offering me, 450, right? Well, the typical scenario is say, okay, we'll split it, right? And so his theory is never to do that. There is no there is no win-win situation in this type of negotiation. So you're trying to figure out what they want, what you want, and obviously working towards what you want or your client wants, to have that better end of the deal. So what I was going to do here, and again, it's not my goal to give away the whole book and all the secrets in this review, because I do want you guys to read these and help build whatever it is that you're looking for. If you find some of these books that I'm reading and you're like, wow, that's kind of cool, I hope you do go read it and then pull out what means something to you. But one of the things that really caught me this past week, I was down in Texas visiting my oldest daughter, who is now in the Air Force. And so I was in the Dallas area, and I stayed at a nice hotel. In fact, I have points at this specific hotel chain, and so I stayed there. And my first night turned out it wasn't that great. I posted about it on my social media, and it was an interesting evening and next day for sure. So I did mention something to the hotel, and one of the things that this book had taught me, as I listened to it for the second time on the way down. So quick story, I drove my daughter's car from northern Michigan to near Dallas to Wichita Falls, which is the home of Shepherd Air Force Base. So 18-hour drive. I had quite a bit of time to listen to some books and podcasts and that kind of stuff. So I listened to this book again after it's been probably 2 or 3 years since I listened to it last. And one of the biggest things I took away from that was, when you're negotiating with somebody, don't always offer up what you want, even if it's more than what you want. Don't necessarily open that up or offer that to the other side right away. Ask specific questions that would allow them to potentially negotiate against themselves before you even offer what was good for you. So in my story, after reading this book or listening to this book again, was these folks, the hotel chain asked what they could do to make my stay better or review better. And I said, what about some sort of discount on the first night? Because that's the only night that I had an issue with. And they said, well, we'll have to ask on a discount, or we can offer you points. So I knew that the discount wasn't going to be major. It was one night that I was down there, and I'm a fair guy anyway. So I said, why don't we focus on points? So they offered me an insignificant amount of points for the time that I had and the troubles that I had. So I said, instead of saying, well, that's not good enough or whatever, I said, hey, can you do any better than that? And they said, well, we'll have to go back and ask. And so the day kind of went on, and we started texting back and forth through their system. And they came back with a little bit different number, a little bit higher number, and I forget what it is right offhand. And my response was simply, I said, thank you for coming up. I thank them. That's part of this book. Thanks for coming up. I appreciate that. And, but can you do any better than that? So they went back and suggested that they could give me a discount or a 15% discount off my first night stay. And again, I knew that it wasn't going to be that big of a deal or big of a value for me. So I, again, refocused them back on points. And I said, what else can you do here? And reminded them of the challenges that I had for that first night. And I said to them, what if, you can imagine, right, what it would be like if you were in my situation. And I just asked them again if there's any way that they could do better on what they did. Now, again, I haven't offered a solution for them yet, and they've asked me a couple times, and I haven't responded. So finally, it was the next day, and they said, well, we can give you, I think it was 5,000 points. And so in my mind, and it was arbitrary, but I had in my mind that 5,000 points would make me happy. And they said, do you think 5,000 points would be fair? And that was an interesting thing, because in this book, there is that word fair does come up in the book as far as a keyword and what to listen to when you're negotiating. If somebody uses that, then they either believe that they're getting to the point where they're near their limit or what have you. So my response when hearing that word, I said, yes, I said, I do believe that's fair, and I appreciate you coming up. But I said, would you consider 6,450 points? And again, this is arbitrary. I don't necessarily care about any of it. It was more now a practice of this book of my negotiation style now. I was trying this technique on this company. And so the number 6,450 was not anything but arbitrary, but it wasn't a round number. It wasn't 6,500. It wasn't 7,000. It was 6,450. And that matters because to them, it might have thought that I thought about that number, and that's exactly what would make me happy. So some time went by, and after they thought about it for a minute, they agreed that would be So they agreed to that 6,450, and once we both agreed to that, we were all good. But the end of it was practicing this part of this negotiating style, and two things that happened just by following the process. One, I used the allow them to negotiate against themselves rule, as well as don't offer anything up, right? Don't offer anything up. Let them negotiate against themselves. And then two, listening for those keywords. One of the keywords in this book was fair, and I heard that and applied it back to them. And I was kind of blown away after listening to this book again, applying it so quickly in an everyday situation, how well that works. So I just wanted to share that with you. These books that we're reading are so applicable to our daily lives, whatever they may be. And we're going to come up, and I'm going to be sharing two more Navy SEAL books coming up. One is Extreme Ownership, and the other is The Dichotomy of Leadership. And both of those are Jocko Willink and Leif Babbitt, both Navy SEALs. And so you'd think a lot of those are going to be, only about hardcore leadership and what you got to do in their scenarios, but how well you can apply those in your life or business life. So I'd really encourage you to read this book by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Again, you don't have to be in business. You could be a parent. You could be looking to buy your next car. You could be negotiating your next year's rent as inflation is going up. It does talk about that in this book on how to deal with rent rate increases. It's really interesting, folks. And a mentor once told me that you could buy a $30, $40, $50 book, whatever it is, and only get one sentence out of that book that could make you a millionaire. And of course, that's the extreme on some of these books. But what if it could save you $1,200 a year on rent? What if it could save you, $6,000 or $7,000 on a car? It's worth it. And I guarantee you, by buying this book or listening to this book, it'll be worth it to apply it in your life. Thank you very much. I hope to see you on the next review. Let me know what you think, as always, and we'll see you next time.